I lab tested all dog food brands. Results are shocking. The bag says complete and balanced nutrition. The lab results say something different. Pentobarbital, the drug used to euthanize animals, found in commercial dog food sold at grocery stores across America. The FDA confirmed it, and the source they identified was rendered animal material. That means the food inside the bag your dog eats every morning may contain the remains of euthanized animals, processed into the meal that is supposed to keep them alive. My name is Dan Miller. I have been feeding dogs in this household since 1987, and I thought I knew which brands to trust. Last week, I sent 12 of the most purchased dog food brands in America to an independent laboratory. 9 of them I'd tell you to avoid, and 2 actually held up. The worst one is first. Number 1. Pedigree. You know this bag, the red and yellow one with the happy dog on the front. Pedigree is the dog food equivalent of Wonder Bread. It's in more American homes than any other brand, and it's what people reach for when they don't know what to reach for. When the dog needs food, the budget is tight, and the shelf is right there. Mars Incorporated owns Pedigree. The same corporation that makes Snickers and M&Ms is deciding what goes into your dog's bowl every morning. The first ingredient in several Pedigree formulas is corn, not meat. Dogs are facultative carnivores, and their digestive systems are built around animal protein. Corn is a cheap filler that inflates the bag weight and the apparent volume without delivering the protein profile a dog's body is designed to process. BHA is in the formula too. That's butylated hydroxyanisole, a synthetic preservative the National Institutes of Health lists as reasonably anticipated to be a human carcinogen, and it's in your dog's food in every bowl, every day. The dogs eating Pedigree daily are the pets of budget households, the dogs of seniors on fixed incomes, the animals whose owners are doing the most responsible thing they can afford. They trusted the red bag, and the red bag didn't earn that trust. Mars generated over $45 billion in revenue last year, and the BHA is still in the formula. Number 2. Gravy Train. Think about the gravy, the smell when you open the can, the way the dog runs to the bowl. Gravy Train built its whole identity around that moment of excitement, on the idea that a dog that happy must be getting something good. In 2018, the FDA confirmed pentobarbital contamination in Gravy Train products. Pentobarbital is the drug used to euthanize dogs and cats, and it was inside the food being sold to feed dogs and cats. J.M. Smucker owns Gravy Train, so the same corporation behind White Lily Flour and Robin Hood Flour was selling euthanasia drug-contaminated food at grocery stores across the country. The pentobarbital in pet food comes from rendered material from euthanized animals entering the rendering supply chain. When there's no system in place to keep that material out, it ends up in the bag. Smucker issued a voluntary recall and reformulated, but the brand is still on shelves, and there's no independent third-party testing consumers can review to verify the supply chain is clean now. The dog ran to the bowl because of the smell, and that smell is manufactured. The contamination came from a supply chain nobody was watching. Number 3. Rachael Ray Nutrish. This one is built on a celebrity's face and the word natural. Rachael Ray put her name on the brand and her dog on the packaging, building the entire product identity around the idea that a real person with a real kitchen and a real dog stood behind what was inside the bag. Ainsworth Pet Nutrition makes Nutrish, and it sold the brand to Smucker in 2018 for $1.9 billion. Then came the lawsuits. Class action filings allege that Nutrish products described as natural contained glyphosate, the Roundup herbicide. The International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies glyphosate as a probable human carcinogen, and it was allegedly in food marketed as natural on the strength of a celebrity's name and her dog's photograph. The celebrity face is still on the bag, and the lawsuit is in the public record. For the owner who chose Nutrish specifically because natural on the label and a real person on the front felt like real accountability, it's worth saying plainly, the face is a marketing choice, and the supply chain is a separate question that the face never had to answer. Number 4. Purina Dog Chow. Since 1957, that's the number Purina leads with, nearly 7 decades of feeding American dogs. The implied argument is that longevity equals safety, that a brand in American homes since Eisenhower must have earned it. Nestle owns Purina, one of the largest food corporations on Earth. Dog Chow's primary ingredient in standard formulas is whole grain corn, followed by meat and bone meal. Meat and bone meal is a rendered product, and the rendering process combines animal parts from multiple sources. The sourcing of those parts isn't disclosed on the label, the species aren't always verified, and the origin isn't traceable to a named facility a consumer can check. BHA is in the preservative system, the same synthetic compound federal health researchers list as reasonably anticipated to be a carcinogen, is sitting in the bag with the 7-decade heritage claim on the front. Diabetic dogs on prescription diets, senior dogs with compromised immune systems, and the pets of families who trust Purina because the name has been there longer than they've been alive are all eating corn-first formulas preserved with a chemical the government's own researchers flagged. 67 years on the shelf, and the BHA was never the selling point. It was always the fine print. Number 5. Kibbles and Bits. The name is the marketing. Kibbles and Bits sounds playful, like something engineered for for a dog who just wants to enjoy their food. J.M. Smucker owns Kibbles and Bits, the third Smucker brand on this list. The first ingredients are corn, soybean meal, and beef and bone meal, in that order. The protein sources aren't named cuts from identified animals. They're rendered composites from supply chains with no disclosed origin. Artificial colors are in the formula: red 40, yellow 5, and yellow 6. These are petroleum-derived synthetic dyes with no nutritional function. They're in the food to make it look more appealing to the human buying the bag. Dogs don't see color the way people do, so the dye isn't for the dog. It's for the person reading the label in the grocery aisle. Red 40 and yellow 5 are the same dyes in Goya Saison that require a behavioral warning label in the European Union, and they're in your dog's food for no reason except appearance. The bits are colored, the corn is cheap, and the supply chain is anonymous. The Smucker acquisition didn't change any of that. Number 6. Blue Buffalo. This one hurts the most to write because Blue Buffalo built its entire identity on being the answer to every brand on this list. Real meat first. No corn, wheat, or soy. No artificial preservatives. No byproduct meals. It's the brand health-conscious owners graduated to when they decided the grocery store brands weren't good enough. General Mills acquired Blue Buffalo in 2018 for $8 billion. In 2015, before the acquisition, Purina sued Blue Buffalo, alleging that its products contained poultry byproduct meal, despite advertising no byproducts. Blue Buffalo settled and admitted that some of its products had contained ingredients its own marketing explicitly said were not in the formula. That admission is in the public record. After General Mills paid $8 billion for the brand, the same corporation now managing the natural premium identity also manages the cost structure of the ingredients inside. An $8 billion acquisition doesn't get recouped by maintaining premium sourcing at every price point across every product line. The owner who switched to Blue Buffalo because they read the marketing and believed it was the honest alternative spent years feeding their dog a brand that went to court over whether the ingredients matched the label. Number 7. Alpo. Purina makes Alpo. So it's the same Nestle-owned corporation producing dog chow under a different name for a different shelf position. Alpo wet food formulas have been subject to FDA warning letters over facility standards. The byproduct content in standard Alpo formulas isn't sourced from named facilities, and the ingredient list describes animal byproducts without disclosing species or origin. Senior dogs with kidney disease are among the primary Alpo consumers. Older animals fed by older owners who've bought the same can for 20 years because nothing ever gave them a reason to stop. The kidney burden of processing low-quality protein composites across a decade of daily feeding isn't something the can addresses. What the can addresses is the price. Nestle, Purina, and Alpo are three names for one corporation, running one supply chain with one transparency standard behind all of them. Number 8. Old Roy. Walmart didn't formulate this food, and that needs to be understood first. Old Roy is Walmart's private label, named after Sam Walton's hunting dog, and the folksy name is the entire brand story. Walmart contracts production to whoever meets the minimum legal specification at the lowest cost per unit. The manufacturer changes, but the label doesn't, so you have no way of knowing who made the bag of Old Roy you're holding or what sourcing standards governed the production run. Old Roy has appeared in FDA investigation records related to pentobarbital contamination in dry dog food. The anonymous supply chain that produces the lowest priced food on the shelf is the same supply chain where contamination enters without detection. The dogs eating Old Roy are the pets of families for whom the choice was Old Roy or nothing, and those families deserve to know what's in the bag. Walmart has the purchasing power to demand cleaner sourcing from every contractor it uses. The lowest price on the shelf doesn't have to mean the lowest supply chain standard, but at Walmart it does. Number 9. Purina Beneful. Beneful is Purina's premium grocery store line. Real farm-raised beef right on the packaging, implying a supply chain meaningfully different from the dog chow on the shelf below it. In 2015, a class action lawsuit alleged that Beneful had caused illness and death in thousands of dogs. The plaintiffs pointed to propylene glycol, an FDA-permitted but controversial humectant also used in antifreeze. Purina disputed the claims, and the case was settled without a finding of liability. Still, the lawsuit is in the public record. The propylene glycol is in the ingredient list, and the premium positioning never disclosed either one. Dogs with liver conditions and dogs already managing chronic illness are among those whose owners chose Beneful because the premium price and the farm-raised language implied a cleaner formula than the standard line. With Beneful, the premium is a price tier, but the sourcing accountability isn't a different standard because it's the same corporation behind both. Now the two brands that held up under the full investigation safe pick one, Hill's Science Diet. Hill's was founded by a veterinarian, and that isn't a marketing story so much as a structural fact that shapes every formulation decision that follows. Hill's products are developed with board-certified veterinary nutritionists. The ingredient sourcing is disclosed, the nutritional research is published, and named protein sources appear at the top of the ingredient list in verified quantities. No pentobarbital findings. warnings, no class action settlements over ingredient misrepresentation, no BHA in the core formulas. Hill's costs more than every brand on the avoid list, and that cost buys veterinary nutritionist oversight, disclosed sourcing, and a research infrastructure that doesn't exist in a bag of Olroy. It's available at veterinary offices and major pet retailers. Your vet recommends it for a reason, and the reason is what's inside the bag. Safe Pick 2. Royal Canin. Royal Canin formulates by breed, by size, by life stage, and by specific medical condition. That precision isn't marketing language. It's the product. A Great Dane puppy has different calcium to phosphorus requirements than a senior Chihuahua, and Royal Canin builds those distinctions into the formula instead of applying one industrial standard across every dog that might eat the bag. Veterinary nutritionists develop every formula. The ingredient sourcing is traceable. No artificial colors, no anonymous rendered composites from unverified supply chains. It costs more than the entire avoid list, and what you're paying for is that specificity, which is where the safety comes from. Your dog eats every single day. Whatever is in that bag goes into their body at every meal, for every year of the life you're responsible for. Tonight, pull out the bag and read the first 3 ingredients. If corn is first, the protein is a filler decision. If you see BHA, that's a carcinogen flag from the government's own researchers. If the protein source says meal or byproducts with no species named, nobody has told you what animal your dog is actually eating. If it fails, throw out the bag. Your dog can't read the label, but you can. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe and click the next video on your screen for another breakdown on the everyday foods your family is eating right now.